How do you build a legacy? For EHRA Engineering, it's been 85 years in the making, and they're just getting started.
My grandfather started this company back in 1936.
I guarantee you, when they started this organization, they had no idea that we would be around 85 years later.
I think that we've gone above and beyond what they expected, and I think that they're excited because they see that EHRA isn't done growing.
It was a dream fueled by a passion for surveying, a venture that would take root and bloom in what has become the fourth largest city in the United States. Houston, Texas is one of the most vibrant areas in the country today, rich with opportunity.
Houston has a lot to offer. You've got the medical, you've got the ship channel, you have energy, it's energy capital of the world.
But 85 years ago, Houston, much like EHRA, was only just beginning to make its mark.
In the 30s, 40s, 50s, Houston was a very small town, and everybody knew each other. It was close-knit. It didn't have the footprint that it does today.
In 1936, the world was in the midst of the Great Depression. Houston was recovering from two devastating floods that had ravaged the city, totaling nearly $4 million in damages. But Truman Edminster Sr., who had traveled the world working as a surveyor before settling in Houston, knew there was something special about the city.
In 1908, by the time he hit Houston, he had been around the world twice. He had learned the profession of surveying and actually was a surveyor on the first railroad built in the Philippines.
Truman Sr. saw opportunity. His time working for the city of Houston showed him the immense promise for growth. And grow they did. In 1947, Edminster Engineering expanded into a new office on Kirby Drive, though it wasn't the Kirby Drive we know today.
Now you have to understand, back in 1936, Kirby Drive was the edge of Houston. It was a gravel road, and nothing good happened on the other side of Kirby Drive.
Though Truman Sr. passed in 1948, he'd set the stage for a journey he could only imagine for his family. His son, Truman C. Edminster Jr., followed in his footsteps and took the reins of the company at just 24 years old. The years after the end of World War II were hard on Houston's economy, and Edminster Engineering came very close to closing its doors. Their ability to roll with the punches is one of the main reasons they've endured.
Adaptability is something that's inherent, intrinsic within this organization. The one thing that's always for sure is change, but it's how you're going to adapt and how you're going to roll forward with it, or are you going to dig your heels in and fight it? Well, change is inevitable.
The subdivision boom that began in the 1960s turned the tides, and working on the development of neighborhoods such as Forest Cove and Indian Shores created a whole new realm of possibilities for Edminster Engineering. Houston's population was expanding rapidly, attracting newcomers from all over, thanks in part to NASA and the space age. To help with the new influx of work, Terry Russ Jr. came on board as a registered professional land surveyor. Things were moving along, and the pieces were falling into place for a new era to unfold.
I remember when the company was located at 2727 Kirby. Gosh, this was the late 60s that Edminster Engineering Company had more work than they had employees to do the work. And across the street was Conrad S. Henshaw Engineering, and he had more employees than he had work to do. So Connie Henshaw and my dad got together and merged the companies to make Edminster Henshaw, which is the H of EHRA.
The next decade saw a flurry of growth and changes. After Truman Jr. passed away in 1970, Terry Russ Jr. and Conrad Henshaw founded a partnership, establishing the Russ Henshaw Surveying Company. In the 70s, EHRA was one of the few civil engineering consulting firms, giving the company a unique opportunity to inextricably link themselves to the development of Houston. This period of expansion was paving the way for the next generation to join the company that would become EHRA.
Always looking for those little things that we can make better that has been baked in somewhere into the organization that I'm very proud of, but is to always raise the bar. Don't be complacent.
The beginning of the 80s saw incredible growth in Houston, and large projects such as Willowbrook Mall gave EHRA the chance to showcase a wide range of skills. But the oil bust in the mid-80s put the crunch on a lot of companies.
It took a pretty good sized toll on the firm, but with the perseverance of my father and my mother, who was his partner, co-pilot, confidant, with the resolve of the two of them, they made the commitment that we're going to ride this downturn and we're going to come out smelling like a rose, and they did. They were successful, but it wasn't without a lot of sacrifice and a lot of pain and a lot of hard work.
The growth in the 80s was huge, and it came to a screeching halt in the late 80s, but EHRA was able to stick to their roots and really kept plugging and chugging until things started picking up in the 90s again.
During this time, the next generation was honing their skills and experience to be able to take the helm. Jim Russ worked summers in the survey department to gain knowledge, while Truman Edminster III earned his professional engineering license. In 1989, after enduring several years of new home construction on the decline, EHRA sensed a shift in Houston's growth and a change on the horizon. This led to one of the biggest moves yet, a location that would allow the company to expand the team.
The EHRA really, it's not a number. It's really growing to be the best out there.
During the 1990s, EHRA helped plan and design some of Houston's most iconic locations, including the Sam Houston Race Park. And by the end of the decade, their growth and progress had led to another milestone.
We decided that we were going to rebrand. It was a total company makeover. And by 2006, we had over 60 employees at that point and had tripled our revenues.
New leadership had stepped up to the plate, with Jim Russ and Truman Edminster III coming on board. Their commitment to building a strong, cohesive team, as well as seeking excellence for their clients, transformed the way they do business.
We were on the map. We were a force to be reckoned with in the engineering community.
What distinguishes us in our mind from so many others is going over and beyond, taking care of the client, and doing our absolute best to anticipate what they need before they even know they need it.
We're always going to do what's right, trying to find the right solution that's best for everybody.
In 2008, EHRA formed their employee stock ownership plan that set the firm up for the next generation of ownership, one that puts the power in the hands of EHRA team members. There have been challenges along the way for Houston as well as EHRA, but the key has always been rising above adversity.
There have been times where maybe we've lost our way. There have been things that we've had to get through, circumstances, situations. There's downturns, there's pandemics. But to come out and say we can still be stronger than what we were before and really focus on our team members.
So I believe really the future is bright. Even though the weather might be somewhat of an impediment, we keep solving the problems that we have.
As the future unfolds, EHRA looks forward to being around for the next 85 years.
EHRA is going to continue to play a large role in the growth of the city of Houston.
Possibilities are endless right now, but we've always worked with the mindset of smart, logical growth.
Where I see us in 20 years is a Texas-based firm and not a Houston-based firm, I think.
Whatever happens, EHRA will always see Houston as its home base.
EHRA is part of the community because we have families here. We live it, we do it.
Just want to continue to see Houston thrive.
The growth is always going to be there because people want to come to the city of Houston.
And EHRA is ready to take on the challenges that come with that growth.
I think we're just hitting the point where we're getting into our stride.
The leaders of today are exceptional and are poised to propel this organization into the future for the next 85 years.
It's not been all smooth sailing, but it's been that earnest desire and work effort by everybody that has been with this organization to really making it what it is today.
With perseverance, innovation, and, most importantly, willingness to evolve, EHRA Engineering looks forward to growing into the future with Houston, into Texas, and wherever the road takes us.
We're always looking to how to make the organization even better and not sit back and rest on our laurels. We can't, look at what's, been done in the past. We need to always be looking forward on what we can do, better. It's great, but we can always do more.